Hi friends, today is Tuesday, March 16th, and for Reading with Principal Rabb-Patterson, we're continuing on with 50 Amazing Women Who Changed the World by Laurie, Calkhoven, illustrated by Patricia, Castelao. Today we are going to read about Rachel Carson and Lucille Ball. Rachel Carson, environmentalist. Fact file, born May 27, 1907 in Springdale, Pennsylvania. Spouse, never married. Children, Roger, adopted in 1956. And she died April 14, 1964 in Silver Spring, Maryland. Rachel Carson grew up on a farm and spent most of her time outdoors. She loved to read and write and planned to study English in college. But a biology course changed her mind. So she became a marine biologist, a scientist who studies ocean life. Rachel's life was dedicated to exploring the ocean. In her free time, she wrote stories about the sea, and her books became bestsellers. One scientific trip took her on a 10-day voyage to the area around Nova Scotia, Canada. 2 years later, Rachel published The Sea Around Us. Her poetic writing style helped teaching people about the wonders of the natural world in a new way. During the 1950s, Rachel became concerned about pesticides, or insect-killing chemicals, that were being used on farms and in gardens. She discovered that they were hurting the environment and wondered what they would mean for birds, animals, and humans. Rachel did research that proved the pesticides were in our water, air, and soil and were making all sorts of creatures sick, including humans. After 6 years of study, she published Silent Spring in 1962. Silent Spring sparked a revolution. Chemical companies called Rachel hysterical and said her claims were based on bad science, but people were not fooled. Because of Rachel's research, many dangerous chemicals were banned. Rachel showed the world that if people continued to destroy nature, we would also destroy ourselves. Early success. Rachel started writing poetry when she was 8. Her first story, A Battle in the Clouds, was published in St. Nicholas magazine when she was 10. Environmental Protection Agency. When Silent Spring was published, President John F. Kennedy called for a special committee of scientists to investigate Rachel's warnings. His committee agreed with Rachel, and Congress passed laws to ban dangerous pesticides. In 1970, they established the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, to help reduce pollution. And that is Miss Rachel Carson. Next up, Miss it's not Lucille. Babe Didrikson Zaharias. Fact file. She's an athlete. Fact file. Born June 11, 1911 in Port Arthur, Texas. Spouse, George Zaharias. Children, none. Died September 27, 1956 in Galveston, Texas. Babe Didrikson Zaharias is considered the greatest female athlete in the 20th century. Mildred Babe Didrikson participated in every sport available at her school. She set records in track and field, was an All-American in basketball, a great tennis player, and a star on the baseball team. But that wasn't enough. When Babe was playing team sports, she was looking on her golf game, or diving, roller skating, cycling, or bowling. She made the women's track and field team for the 1932 Olympics in Los Angeles and came home with 3 medals. The world began to call her Wonder Girl. Eventually, Babe realized she was going to have to focus on one sport, and she chose golf. She was paired with wrestler George Zaharias at a 1938 golf tournament and married him by the end of the year. The couple traveled all over the world so Babe could play golf. She not only won almost every tournament she entered, she also made golf a popular sport for women. Babe was still winning tournaments when she was diagnosed with colon cancer in 1953. Back then, many people didn't talk openly about cancer, but Babe did. She wanted to help others by making them aware of the symptoms. She died 3 years later. Babe. Neighborhood boys are said to have given Babe her nickname when she hit 5 home runs in one baseball game, just like New York Yankee Babe Ruth. Olympic medals. Babe read about the 1928 Olympics in the newspaper and decided she'd compete in track and field in 1932. She and her sister practiced by jumping over hedges. Babe qualified for 5 events in the 1932 team, but women were only allowed to enter 3. She set world records and won 2 gold medals and 1 silver in hurdles, javelin, and the high jump. And that is Babe Didrikson Zaharias. Have a good evening, friends.